Going well. There we are. We're live. Yes, thank God. Sorry, we're late. My name is Catherine Cavanagh. This is Talk Thursday. I have the wonderful Gabrielle Collins on tonight to talk about her business, which is Turning Point. Turning Point, which is a great name, I think it is. I actually said that to my son today. She's based in Drogheda, but I'm sure you do it online, like
I
everything now.
do. I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
And I met Gabrielle, or I know how I know Gabrielle is through Amanda Delaney's We Can and We Will. And I think probably I met you at the network, and I'm sure, or something like
Probably.
that,
Yeah.
the network.
The
And yeah,
first time
that's
I
what,
was, we can and we will.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember it's just come into my head now. I wasn't there that night that you were called up by
Oh, right.
chance. I think you put names in hats or something like that, wasn't
Right.
it?
Yeah.
You got up to talk, and
Yeah.
you
It,
mentioned your business the very first time, and Amanda and Nicola didn't know you had a business. I was fascinated by that. Do you want to
that's
tell that
right.
little bit
Yeah.
about
Well,
that?
I was really very shy, and I had this thing in my head that about not being big-headed and boastful and all this. You don't get too big for your boots.
Well,
So on the night, Nigel McMorrow was meant to speak, and he wasn't able to come. So
oh,
put the names in a hat. And my son was with me, Barry, and he said to me, I bet you your name would be called out. And I said, no. Lo and behold, out it
oh,
comes.
oh my God. What did you feel like? Sorry for interrupting. Did you kind of go, oh my God, or did
Yeah,
you?
I hadn't
Yeah,
a clue what I was going to say. And he gave me an idea what to talk about. And I don't even know what I answered him at this point. But I went up. So Amanda did like an interview style, which worked really well because I'd
yeah,
never spoken publicly before. And yeah, so I told her then about my business, and nobody knew because I didn't tell anybody. But that's the kind of personality I am. I'm more quiet until I get to know you,
yeah.
and then uh, and that was it. Turning Point was literally in the public eye after that.
Launched that night really
Yeah,
into the public eye like
launched
a
really.
rocket.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I remember Amanda talking about I wasn't there that night. I don't know how I couldn't get there that night, but I remember talking about it and saying it and then saying, I don't know, was it before that you got business cards and you threw
I
them in the
did,
bin?
and I threw them in the bin.
Yeah.
Uh, I just, in your head, what are you doing? You never
What
put
are you
any time
doing?
into
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. Did you say
yeah.
getting above your station and stuff like that? It's a typical Irish thing,
Oh,
isn't it? And all,
yeah.
getting
Then the
too big for your
fear and
boots.
the guilt of saying my story, because I didn't want to hurt people in my family about it.
Yeah.
And the guilt around that was huge,
Oh, I'd say so, yeah.
but it got like I did then speak to my mother and I said to her, this is where I'm going, and I wanted to know she was okay with it. So she was. Once she was okay,
Yeah.
that was it. But what I learned in that, Catherine, and I think it's priceless for women, because we have this thing about our mothers, and nearly like say we want our mothers to be proud of us and we want not to upset them and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I learned is that the best way I can honor my mother is to be the best version of me and
That's
to
true.
in my own true self, because that's who I was born to be. And she doesn't want me to be anyone other than me, even though sometimes the stuff that I have to speak about isn't, you know, coffee table talk. It's
Yeah.
real, and I'm here for a reason, and I really believe that, and I'm born for a reason. So there's no guilt now. She supports me, and it's everything's good. But for me
Yeah.
to honor who she is honoring myself and speaking my truth because I'm
Yeah.
giving them others permission to speak their truth as
Yeah.
well.
I'm getting shivers now when you say that, yeah, because it is true. Like, honoring
Yeah,
yourself,
yeah.
you're
And we
honoring
can
her.
put them on Mother's Day with flowers and whatever it is that we do for them. But like there's 364 other days of the year as well.
Yeah.
So like I would like my kids to be their true selves. That's an honor to me to see how they turn out.
Yeah,
So
it is actually
it's giving ourselves permission to be who we are because we
who
can't
we
be.
are.
But it's when we're trying to be somebody else we get into trouble.
That's
You know,
true, yeah. And people putting on a mask kind of thing,
and it
putting on,
always will slip.
yeah,
Always, it never fails to slip because you can't do it
yeah. It's so
24 hours.
tiring in that, isn't it? Yeah, to put on that
Yeah,
mask and
and
pretend.
it's
And
so many people live that way. you know.
Yeah, I've done it myself. You go into a room and you're all, I'd be very talkative and stuff like that, and sometimes with
Mm,
nerves, you'd start talking and put on this front, as I said, and it
yeah,
is part of my personality. I am very outgoing and stuff. I'm quite private, and a lot of stuff people think I put everything out there, but a lot of stuff I keep to myself. You know what I mean? There's a lot
yeah,
of stuff I
yeah,
wouldn't talk about. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, private stuff that would have happened, and it's only
yeah.
now in the last year or so that I'm starting to open up. I find posts on Facebook, writing. I love writing. I think it's very therapeutic.
It is, yeah.
And I find if I write a post, if I'm feeling weird, like I did there about 2 weeks ago, and put it on Facebook, and I kind of go, "You're being vulnerable." I think that is, and it kind of helps me. And even if I didn't get any likes or anything like that, it's not even for the likes. It's just the fact I'm putting it
It's
out.
your own voice, and vulnerability is courage.
Yeah,
It really is. It takes an awful lot of courage to be vulnerable,
it
but a
does
lot
actually. Yeah, and a lot of people think you're being weak.
of, yeah, that's it. And it's through a lack of knowledge, you know, a
Yeah,
lack,
exactly.
and we don't flourish because we're in ignorance, because we don't know any better. But when you're brave enough then to speak up and say, ask a question or say, this is me, then we all grow.
Yeah,
We
that's
all
it.
grow.
And it's like a freedom, isn't it? It releases you from
And the
something.
energy that you're holding, Catherine, you see, is
Oh,
trying to be something like when I was in school, I lived so disassociated in my own life. I, in my mind, was a French girl. So her name was Yasmin Leblanc, and I loved her. I loved her. I loved being her because she was very serene and she was very calm, and she was everything I wasn't at the time. You
yeah,
know, and I lived through her for years.
go
You know,
away. And
yeah.
did you ever say your name out, or was that just a name you had
Oh, I would
in?
introduce myself as Yasmin. I
Oh,
signed,
really? You
yeah,
actually lived with her name. Oh, God.
I
Yeah.
did, yeah, and I signed my copies in school and everything as Yasmin LeBlanc.
Go away, yeah. And did the
Yeah,
teachers or friends not say
not
anything?
one teacher ever said a word. That fascinated me. Like when I became an adult, that fascinated me that
Yeah.
nobody ever questioned. I was then regarded as the joker, because I was
Oh,
living this persona of somebody else. But that was how I survived.
yeah.
It was a coping mechanism that I developed. Like kids are very, very clever. They'll do an awful lot of stuff to cope in situations that is very stressful for them. And that's what
Yeah.
you I became somebody else, literally, and
Yeah.
then I had to go through a grieving process to let her go.
Really?
So
Oh,
that
my God.
wasn't,
I find that fascinating. Now I'm getting
yeah,
shivers thinking about it, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had to literally say goodbye to her. It
Oh,
was
God.
like taking a hoodie off a baby, or the little blanket that they have. It
Oh,
was,
yeah, yeah. That was your security blanket, kind of, yeah.
yeah, it was a grieving process, definitely.
And
Yeah.
would that have taken long, like the grieving process to go through, or I suppose,
Yeah, I would dabble into it, like, and then I would go back. I wasn't ready. And I actually got myself the doll. So I was literally, it was making it easier, but I was using the doll as her. And then I was slowly, slowly, slowly getting the doll to go away. That was the way I did it. That's what worked for
yeah.
me. It was a bag doll I had.
And you
So,
did that, and you were an adult, like you would have been,
oh yeah, I had children.
you
Yeah.
had children and all at that
I
stage,
had
yeah. And would you carried
children.
it around, or what way would it,
No, I had her on my bed. I had her
Oh,
on my Her name was
yeah,
Millie. I named her Millie Joy, and it was very important for me because of my history that Millie Joy had knickers. So she had this lovely frilly dress on and her own knickers, and
oh, yeah,
that was really important for me. So that was just part of my story,
yeah,
and then she's gone now. So
yeah.
it takes
Wow,
time.
that's
Everybody
fascinating.
works at a different pace.
Yeah, and that's something I do compare a lot, in my head over the years, and that's something I've come to terms with is, don't compare. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, yeah, and like people that come to me today would say, like, how long will it take? How many sessions? Everybody's individual. You don't know. You
Yeah,
just don't know. Like, I recommend a certain amount of weeks and then see, or then, but you can't actually say, oh, you'll be fine in 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever. You don't
yeah,
know. So each person works at a different pace because
yeah,
it's so important, you see, not to overwhelm. somebody else because they've already been overwhelmed. Most people that come in the door are overwhelmed. So you can't say, right, in 6 weeks you need to be better. You know,
Yeah, it doesn't run. We're not machines, or
yeah, no
robots.
pressure. It has.
Yeah.
But for me, I like to create a safe space. Really, really safe space. That's so important that you know that I can see you, I can hear you, and what you say matters to me. And
Hmm.
depending on how much your trust has been broken, will depend on how much and how quickly you will trust me. You know,
Yeah, trust is a
because
huge
most
thing.
of the people that hurt us, Catherine, don't come with masks that you can see, and they don't come like Frankenstein or any of these scary people,
No,
they
the
look,
people and you probably live in the same house as, and
yeah,
related to.
yeah, and when your trust is broken by your core people, i.e., your parents or somebody very, very close to you, it's extremely difficult to trust anybody.
Yeah,
Because if you cannot trust your core parents, where do you go from there?
that's true, actually. Yeah, that's very true. I'm just listening to the same thing. I'm getting so much shivers here tonight listening to you. I identify with so much what you're saying in a lot of ways, and
Yeah, like it's
really,
instinct in us to trust our parents.
yeah,
It's instinct. And when that is taken away from you, but if you even see it like, in toddlers and they're crying and crying and crying and they keep coming back and they'll keep coming back and they'll keep coming back, even though you might say to them, sit down and be quiet or whatever it is that you might say to them, they'll keep coming back. They just need this. And that's what we all need,
yeah.
regardless of age, regardless of our age. And that's why a lot of people are struggling so much with COVID because we don't have this anymore. You
That's
know,
it. Yeah,
touch is so important.
yeah, and a lot
Good,
of
good
people.
touch. Yeah, good touch.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because a lot of people would use alcohol and buying stuff and all that, and that's taken away from people. Or a lot of people probably went to the pub, men or women or whatever, or went
Mm.
shopping and or went on holidays. And to get away from the reality or whatever they're dealing with,
Yeah,
or
and like I could be wrong on this now, but I believe that nobody is born an addict. I think some babies maybe if the mammy is active, like the baby is addicted to the drugs or whatever. But
yeah,
generally, we're not born addicts. Something has happened to us, or someone has happened to us, and
yeah,
we develop our isms. Alcoholism, the drugs, the drink. The alcoholism is the drink. It can be prescription tablets. It can be shopping. It can be food. You can be addicted to sadness. You can be absolutely addicted to anything.
yeah.
Addicted to your story, anything. For me, it was cleaning and food. They were my two. And
Really,
yeah, yeah, my two was the cleaning and food. And, you know, that was me pushing something down, and the cleaning, if everything was cleaned, then everything must be okay. I must be okay if everything is clean in the house. I
yeah,
mean, I took the skin off my hands with bleach. I
yeah.
bleached everywhere. Couldn't be clean enough,
Go
you know,
away. Yeah,
into the cups and everything. Like, I mean, it was so bad at one time my daughter ended up drinking the bleach.
Jesus. Yeah,
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. We had to take her to hospital. But that's how bad it got in my house. You know,
yeah.
like
And
she was.
it's so
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
no, go on.
no. I
No.
was saying she was out playing, and I was bleaching the cups, and I had them on the draining board, and I wasn't there when she came into the kitchen, so she just downed it.
Oh
Or
God, yeah.
yeah, it was bad. Like I wasn't like I am today. I was in
Yeah,
different.
person. Yeah, I can't imagine because you're so relaxed, you're so easygoing. And I think when you mentioned that person earlier on that you were Yasmin, I can't remember
Yasmin.
the surname.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said she was real calm and that, and I think that actually is you. Like you can see
I,
that because you've
I
come into
yeah,
that now.
definitely. I think that's who I was meant to be. But life took over and I was totally different. I was all anxiety and, full of fear.
Full of fear, yeah, exactly. And I heard my son is in some kind of a man's group. As he does gaming and stuff like that. And the guy, it's called Just Man Up is the group, and it's men going to talk with their feelings, which is great. And that because men
Brilliant.
don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're only young. Like my son's just gone 30. This fella that runs this live stream, and he's getting very popular and stuff. He's a news article in all the papers recently. But
Oh,
literally, he's on Instagram, And my son does clips for him, editing and that, and I just watched
Oh,
one of them
right.
later on. Yeah. And he mentioned the same thing. He was talking about his field because that's what he does now. He talks about it and stuff and
Yeah,
tries
it's great.
to open up. Yeah, it's great, and
Yeah.
especially him being only in his 20s. And he mentioned it, obviously he said, I hate my life, didn't like my life. And he said, what I did was I slept. I sleep till 5 or 6. And in his dreams, he could have the life that he wanted. But in reality, when he woke up, he wasn't. And then he was drinking at the weekend, the same thing that a lot of, particularly Irish men in particular, would have done,
Yeah.
in pubs. And it was just interesting, that's how he dealt with it. He slept, slept all the time and became
Yeah, and just
himself in his dreams.
association. Yeah, yeah. You just
Yeah,
disassociate.
disassociation, that's the word, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's common.
Yeah. It's
And it's
fascinating. I
more
find it fascinating.
men.
Say it again,
Yeah.
sorry. It's just
It's
slightly
more
breaking up
common.
there.
All right, sorry. It's more common in men,
Oh, really?
women,
Is it?
yeah, men to hide in the bed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because my eldest brother did that years ago now that I think, but he used to sleep all day. My dad would
Yeah,
go up and
like
put the glass in.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's a lot. When you think about it, like literally sit and think about it, it'll manifest itself differently in women, because we're made differently. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That is the reality.
Yeah,
Men process different to women. We
yeah,
are born for a reason,
that's it.
and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, and
We're
people
different.
forget that, you know what I mean? We're not the same. We are different and we deal with things differently, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Completely different. Well, obviously, it's going to manifest differently in it and that.
Yeah.
How long are you doing this now? How did you get into it even? You know what I mean? Or did it
Into
evolve or something? Hmm?
Well, I think I had an interest in relationships. I was always fascinated in how men and women relate to each other. I was always fascinated with that. And so I started in 1983 training. And then my own marriage broke up, so I had to stop. And so I went back then when the kids got a bit bigger and I finished all that. And then I went on to do more training and, brushing up on things I'd already learned. And I did some with the Rape Crisis Centre as well. Um, Different bits in different areas that I'm genuinely interested in. And then when we can, I had always wanted to start out on my own, but I didn't think of how it was going to happen. Like because I would have been somebody that was always thinking ahead. I was addicted to reasoning, how it's going to happen, why it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, who's going to be. I had a whole thing. I'd be reasoning everything out in my head the whole time. But
Mm.
that came, Catherine, for me because my life didn't make sense. I was trying to understand why was I abused? Why did this happen? Why that? Why not somebody else? So I couldn't understand it. But I carried it on then and I became addicted to reasoning. But it worked for me because I wanted to know what made you tick and I
Right.
wanted to know what made me tick. And
Yeah.
I was really interested in people and personalities. And that is really what drew me into it. You know,
Wow.
yeah, I'm fascinated with how people perceive things and how we perceive things differently.
Yeah.
So and that was it. Then after We Can and We Will, it was just born.
So I thought you were had you got clients or anything before that? Had you advertised or anything before
I
We
had
Can?
never
Or
advertised. I'd
oh,
never
right. So you kind of set it up but
word
never
of mouth.
advertised.
Yeah, it was kind of word
Ah,
of mouth. I had a few people, but nothing like now.
oh, right. Yeah.
It was
So
only
it was
through.
really that night that you literally were launched. I know we said it earlier on, but I thought you were kind of,
Mm.
had advertised, but you'd never had,
No, I'd never advertised. I had the
Yeah.
cards and I binned them. Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's what you were saying. I just find that fascinating. And then that night, then you were just launching that, so it was meant to happen, that you were
it
meant to
was
be good.
meant to happen. Yeah, there was a divine purpose for that night.
Yeah,
It definitely was. Yeah,
definitely was. And then I've
yeah,
seen your videos on your business page, the Soulful Sunday, isn't it? And then you
yeah.
do a
I
Wednesday
do.
video as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I do Wisdom on Wednesday, and I
Twinned
do
it. Yeah.
Soulful Sunday. I do that every week, and then
Yeah.
I just Feel Good Friday, which is a post where you comment and say anything that you're proud of that happened in the week for you.
Yeah.
So then I just put up little posts or anything else that really sits in my heart to do it, then I do it. But
Yeah,
generally,
you resonate with it and that,
yeah.
And would you get clients from Facebook? Would you? Has
Oh
it worked?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, definitely. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing. You just don't know who's watching.
No, you never do. Sure, you don't.
You
Yeah.
do not know who's watching. Yeah, and then I would get some from word of mouth, and then a couple of GPs would recommend me as well. So that's really good to have.
Yeah. And where do you have it in your house, or do you have it
I
based? Yeah.
outside of the house. Yeah,
Oh, outside of the house and that. Isn't there a
yeah.
word? There's something that you were. It's actually in the back of my head. This something therapy. It's a big long word
Oh, the
that you
logos.
mentioned before.
Yeah,
What's that
yeah,
called? I was always fascinated what it is. Yeah.
yeah. It's called logosynthesis. So
Logos.
yeah, it's basically energy. It's energy work. So your energy is either in flow or it's stuck. So it's a process of four sentences. Like everybody, there's a different type of energy work. A lot of people do. This one is just another form of it, but
Right.
it's spoken word. So you're retrieving your energy. So I would retrieve my energy from the people that abused me and take it back to the right place in myself. And then I
Okay.
release the energy that doesn't belong to me, like the energy that's held in guilt and fear and shame and all that toxic stuff, and I give
Mm.
it back to who it truly belongs. So it frees you up. You
Okay.
do feel lighter after it. It's a
Yeah.
simple way, and you don't need to go into the details if you don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people seem to think, I think maybe that's what puts off a lot of people going counselling or going because they're afraid they're going. I know you have to go back to a certain point,
Mm,
I suppose,
mm.
but I think people need afraid maybe that they have to go back and relive every detail, and
Yeah, you
maybe
see,
that's
you don't but what
yeah,
happens is, you see, we have already lived through the event. So in our memory, that's where the energy is stored. So this just literally takes the energy out, and you will have the memory, but it will be just like a distant memory. It doesn't just miraculously happen in one session, on deep stuff that is,
yeah,
but it is very effective, and it's worldwide now. There's not many people in Ireland doing it now, but it's worldwide.
is
It's
it?
very,
Yeah. And
yeah.
would you use it a lot? Would you get a lot of clients? Would they ask for it, or would you, as you're working with
Couple
them,
of
you
people
say,
will ask for it, and then I would know myself, but there has to be a level of trust, so you'd look at the level of trust, say if it was you and me, and how much
hmm
you trust me. Yeah, because there is a level of trust needed, and
yeah,
the thing that we don't want to hear, we don't want to poke our own pain. We just don't. Nobody does, you
no,
know so, and that's why the trust and the safety is vital, you know
yeah,
because if you don't have that, then it's just not, no type of therapy will work.
yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah, that is true. Trust is such a huge thing in all areas of your life. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Especially
Like
for dealing with.
that's why when your core people, when you've lost that trust or you haven't had it, what happens as well is you don't trust yourself. Because so many people have let you down, and this is what we tell ourselves. So we lose in here. We lose the getting in contact with ourselves because we don't really know what it feels like anymore, because we get such a shock when it's somebody, that's literally, say, your parents or someone very close to you in your family, maybe, or it could be a neighbor, it could be anybody that you're close to. And
Yeah.
because we take on the blame, you see, for what they do.
God, isn't that mad? I just find that fascinating. Just love listening
Yeah,
to you because, yeah, but that we take on that blame,
we
and
do. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We
and
see
I
then we're told as well, like, to be quiet, don't tell anybody, you'll be taken away, or your dog will be taken away, you're threatened, and it can be very, very subtle, very, very subtle threats. It's like that coercive control. It's just a little sentence, it's just a word, why do you always do that, or a look, you know.
yeah, and to a child that's magnified, I suppose. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. The
big
look.
time.
Yeah,
They're
because
little.
like we would laugh now and we'd say, like, my mother didn't need to give out, she'd just give you the look, you know. And then
Yeah,
that that you knew, quit. And
quick.
obviously,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah, and
you
that
know.
wouldn't have
Yeah,
been
it's mad,
real
isn't it? Just a
for
look
you.
or a tone of
Yeah,
voice sometimes. You know what I mean? That
yeah,
can kind of
yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
make you sit up and that, you know. But that
Yeah.
coercive control that you mentioned there, I know you did a post I seen or a video. I think you did. You probably have it. I think you have it on YouTube. Did you say that?
Yeah.
And you spoke about. I think it came. Did it come into law or something like that? Was it or
Yeah. It's
something
now in
significant happened?
Ireland that it is a criminal offence.
Yeah,
So that is like, yay, brilliant, because it wasn't. Because you see, there is no bruises. Very
yeah.
hard to have evidence because it's
That's what I was
mandatory.
saying. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier on to you. Like when I was married, the same thing. I had no bruises and that, you know, but verbally, you know,
There,
names and
yeah,
shouting at you and all that kind of thing. So you'd nothing to prove. Like, you like, how would you prove that?
you can,
Um, you
yeah,
can't, yeah, I suppose. But
you
like,
can't.
even
Yeah.
that is in law now. Like, how would you? Like, how would
Because you see, now the way it is, like people generally will not go in and start saying, "This is what's happening in my life," unless it is happening. Coercive control, you will not be able to lie about because the instances are so crazy. You know, they try to control your brain, they try to confuse you. And it can be just simple words, it's the effect it has on you. And you will know because it will drive you that much nuts in your head that you will generally go and see a GP. Generally, that's what happens because you
oh,
can't,
really?
yeah, you just can't stick it. You know, you doubt yourself. You know, it'll come out in your behavior.
Yeah.
You know,
And I
there's
say that's
always,
happening a lot now with COVID, and that, you know, that people are, they're saying the
yeah,
domestic abuse and all that. And I imagine that coercive is on the increase. You know,
massively.
women, yeah,
Yeah,
massively. I imagine being stuck at home with this man, or it could be a woman. I suppose there are women
it
that,
can be. Yeah, it's either. You know, it's
yeah,
either. You
and
know,
imagine being stuck in the house and can't go anywhere, even to the shop or to work. Oh, I can't imagine now how that must have been for women, and probably still is. You know, I know we're not fully in the way we were in March, but you know what I mean, similar to it. I'm just looking. It's gone, just come up to 7:30, and we always say we try and keep a half an hour.
okay.
That flies in, you know, we're chatting
Yeah,
away.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say, Tanya? But there's a few people looking. There's nobody commenting at the minute, so I don't know who it is that's looking. I don't look at numbers or anything. I don't mind who's looking, you
Yeah,
know.
and
Um,
don't suffer in silence. If you need help, reach out, and remember that the shame is not yours.
yeah, that's
It's
a
not.
powerful statement. Yeah,
And yeah, always, always, always remember this. If it's okay for someone to treat you badly, it is okay for you to say it.
God, that's a great statement to write. Actually, yeah, that is true.
If it's
Yeah,
okay to do it, then it's okay to say it.
say it. Yeah, because
And yeah, because the
because they're
shame
doing,
is yours.
yeah, the
You,
shame's not yours. Yeah, they're doing something wrong, and you need
yeah,
to be called out for it, basically. You know, and even if it's years
yeah.
later or whatever like that, you know,
And the
to
more that we don't speak up, the more we're enabling this to keep going on. You know, and
yeah,
that's the truth. You're just being an enabler. And I know it's scary to speak up. I know that it is, but it's important that you do. You know,
yeah.
it isn't. You know,
Because it is silence. They say that for you, you know, particularly with abuse and stuff like that. You know, the silence is what enables these people to keep going on,
yeah,
generation after generation, and that
yeah.
you know
And there's a
continue.
big, big difference in keeping something private and making a secret of something as well. You know, so secrecy isn't good. There's a big
Isn't
difference.
good.
Yeah, it is. You know, so do yourself a service and speak up. You know,
And
you're
speak.
not going to be on your own. You won't be on your own. You won't be on your own. You'll you'll be more glad that you did because then and only then can you get help. You know, only then when you speak up because people don't know and you end up resenting. You end up like a victim. You know, you're angry. Life is too precious. Life is too precious. It's as we have learned through COVID. So many people committing suicide.
Yeah,
If there is anyone watching this, Catherine, that is feeling really down in themselves and think, you know, that their life is not worth living, your life is absolutely worth living. You know, we are all here for a reason and never, ever give up. Never, ever give up.
yeah,
You know, I attempted suicide. I'm so glad I wasn't successful. You know, so if there's anyone watching and they're feeling really down, reach out. Somebody will be there to hold your hand. And that is what we need when we're starting out in the journey. Do
yeah.
not give in and do never give up. Never.
Never give up. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Yeah, I'll put your detail. I'll put a link. I presume you have a website, don't you?
I
And
have, yeah, I
yeah,
have.
I'll get them off you, and I'll put it into the post afterwards. I'll tag you in it, and
Yeah,
that people can look and contact you. Because to me, if I was going for a cancer, I'd go recommend you because you're so calm and you've
thank
been
you.
through it yourself, so you know. But you're
Yeah, well,
very
I know it
calm
on
and
both sides. Yeah, I do know it on
yeah,
both sides. Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know your stuff and that. You know what I mean. And you're just very
And it's
solid
so
and
difficult
trustworthy.
to come in a door for the first time, and I know what it's like to sit in that chair. It's horrible,
Yeah.
best thing you will do.
Was it you that went, or was it somebody else that went to counselling for a good few? Was it a year or something
Me,
like that? Was that
me,
and didn't say
yeah.
anything? Was it you?
And
Yeah, I couldn't remember whether it was somebody else. Yeah, you sat there for a year. Yeah,
a year and a
that's
half,
fascinating.
spoke. Never
Wow.
spoke. But I
Yeah,
went every Thursday at 3:30.
and you sat there, and she made you biscuits and tea or something, or gave you
She made
biscuits
me
and
tea and biscuits, yeah, and that was it. And I would sit
and
in the
how? Yeah, and how eventually did you open up, or did you? Was that building trust? I presume was it for the year or?
oh, massively, yeah. Yeah, I needed to
Yeah,
trust her. And so she would just continue doing her work. And I would sit there and have my tea and biscuits, and she'd say, okay. And I go, yes. And she'd say, do you want to talk? I would go, no. And then one day I went and she says, well, how are you? That was the
and you just
start.
start talking. Oh my God,
That
that's
was,
fascinating.
yeah.
Really, I have to say, to sit there
But,
because I'd be if I was
but
that person, I'd be going and thinking, I'd be talking, but I wouldn't be saying what I really need to say. That's my problem. I can talk and I'd say all that, but to sit in
yeah,
silence,
the way
and
it
not say
works. It's
anything.
always literally at the last thing that somebody will say is the most important. But
Yeah.
there was times I drove home from her office. I don't know how I even got home, and that's without me speaking. You know,
Wow, you
the
serious?
guilt. Yeah, I would arrive back in Drogheda, and I wouldn't even know how I got there. I
God,
was that
I'm
traumatized. I really
yeah.
was very, very traumatized. Yeah, and the
So
guilt.
even for you to get in that door, that was a huge milestone to go, I suppose, make that decision and to go
Yeah, yeah,
be there, even though you weren't talking. Oh, it's gone.
yeah.
It went there for a
Exactly.
second. Oh, you're freezing there. The screen just went and then you froze for a minute. It's probably telling us to get
Oh,
off
did
nearly
I?
22.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not to worry. No, I just think your story's fascinating. I just love listening to you. You need to write a book or get a book or film
I know.
about you or
So
something.
saying that to me. Yeah, I just don't know where to start.
Yeah, exactly. This is it. A few people have said it to me, but I'm not interested in the book. I think I'd have to have a film or something. I've no
Yeah,
interest in standing on a stage telling me story, and I've no interest in the book at all. Don't know why, but I'm not.
yeah,
Probably a film.
yeah,
We'll wrap it up now and anyway. There's a few people watching there, so hopefully if there's anybody watching, they know anybody or they're feeling that way, that they can contact you. We put the details up later, or if
yeah.
they can contact you on Facebook as well
Yeah,
if they want
yeah,
to.
you'll find me there. Yeah.
Yeah. So we say goodbye to Facebook. Take care. That's the end of Talk Thursday
Yeah.
for tonight.
Thank
So
you.
no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just end it.